Every kid grows up wanting to be an actor. It's easy for execs to find people that'll just chase the golden carrot around.
So we're both being put through the Hunger Games in these interviews.
Damn, I really want this job. I should be grateful that I'm hot.
What's the situationship between you and Jacob?
We've been talking, but I'm not really sure where his head is.
Is friend zoning you?
I'm sorry I didn't text you back. Working on boundaries with the therapist.
Boundaries?
I don't know, I think I just want to be cool and not scare him off.
Don't get too attached. We know you're romantic at heart.
I just want to see where this goes.
I think I need like a yes or a no.
I like you.
I like you too.
Baby, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to keep loving.
I am not that guy, I promise. I know I got a lot of problems, but I am not that guy.
I'll be fine.
It's LA, baby. You gotta suffer your way to the top.
Chasing dreams and getting fucked?
I gotta keep the dream alive. I gotta keep the dream alive. I gotta keep the dream alive.
No matter the medium, the creative endeavor would not be anywhere without the innovations, collaborations, and sheer investments of those who want to see it succeed. So here, we aim to take you beyond the creative process and to pick the brains of those who aim to bring art to the next level, going behind the scenes. This is quite a journey that you guys have been experiencing.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the genesis of this. How did this all come about? Why do something so ambitious like this?
Sure. So I have it, like, I keep documents on my iPhone with just like kernels of ideas. I think a lot of people do that. Y'all probably do that, right?
Yeah.
And in like summer 2023, I was at a bonfire at my house, and like me and some other filmmakers were just kind of like pulling out old ideas.
I love that. That's how it happens every time.
And I saw an old idea that kind of, when I looked at it, it gave me a download for this whole idea. Like, It was just like, you look at the same old ideas over and over again, then suddenly you're like, oh my gosh. And I knew that so Chasers, for those of you who are finding out about it right now, Chasers is a 30-minute single shot take that winds its way through an LA house party, and it's juxtaposing red flags in dating with sort of red flags of trying to break into the film industry. Yeah. And the A storyline was what I had a little kernel of in my notes, which is this woman who is, thirstily vying after a exclusive or reciprocal relationship with her crush, to the point where we feel like, oh, she's coming on a little strong, but the big reveal being that, medium spoiler alert, something happened between them that reframes the way you see that relationship. And the sketch of that idea started feeling like colorful and filled out, and I knew immediately, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what the entertainment industry is like. It's like, are we paying our dues, or are we chasing our abuse? And we convince ourselves that we're paying our dues. People do accuse us of being like desperate or this or that, and just that feeling of chasing something that may not be good for you. I was like, this is why this resonates. So there was a bit of a realization, oh, it's at a party, and I knew, I was like, it's got to be a oneer, because there's just no other way of connecting all of these things without it feeling really random.
Sure.
But if the camera has to pass a character, then hearing them say something doesn't feel like it doesn't feel as indulgent, I guess.
Right.
So from the beginning, I knew I wanted to make it. I knew that it needed to be made as a oneer, and part of the reason to make it, other than the fact that I was just like, I gotta make this, it was, well, if I can do it, it does prove that I can handle something ambitious. And my manager was like, listen, if you can pull this off, I can get you some meetings with it. So from my perspective, that's what it is. Why these crazy people got involved. That's their story.
I was just gonna ask them, when you hear the house party and one shot, I imagine you go, what?
I have a theater background, so I didn't know enough to be scared.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, so Erin and I had made a short film previous to this called Subtext that we were on the festival circuit with while she was developing and writing Chasers, which was back then called Little White Lies. She had shared drafts with me, and I read the script, and I thought it was a really cool idea, and a bunch of people that I also knew and had worked with on Subtext were involved. So it just seemed like I was like, oh, I really want to like work with you again and like help this vision come to life. And it just felt like it didn't feel impossible because of like just the skill I knew Erin had. The planning that she had involved was so meticulous, and I saw the vision, so I was sort of like, yeah, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah, and I was the same. When Erin pitched me the idea initially, I was so excited.
I mean,
she's brilliant, so talented. I'm like, yes, I want to be on board.
I love that we have brave souls here. I love that. You know?
And things were just coming together too, because I really saw this actress Sierra Crony, who plays Sophia. I really saw her in the role, and when I like invited her over to kind of just talk about it, we ended up just starting to write together, and she ended up co-writing, you know, the piece with me.
Sure.
And so it was just like one thing after another. Sometimes you know that something's supposed to happen because even if it's super difficult, it's easy. This is an example of that. Like, it was a very difficult experience, but at the same time the doors were opening or things were coming into place, and like the yeses were lining up. So it was just a matter of there being a big united vision behind this crazy idea.
The house itself presents a lot of challenges. Being outside presents a lot of challenges. Running around a pool presents a lot of challenges. I mean, the amount of challenges that you must have had to face. Did you guys kind of, was there any pre-production at all for this? And what kind of preparation did you have to do to kind of figure out how the camera is going to go from one angle to another without falling in the pool?
Yeah, so we did a lot of prep on this,
Yeah.
like an extraordinary amount. I recommend if someone wants to do a oneer at a location, if you're able to write to a location you already know, that's great. So again, Sierra and I wrote the first draft at my house, but we were actually filming at a house that her family had rented for that year, and her lease was coming up, which is why we were like, we have to make this
Time
crunch.
Love independent film, right?
Yes, thank you, Crony family. But we, in subsequent drafts, went into her place and made sure that, like we kind of walked it through as we were doing the tweaks on the script. And then we did 4 straight days of like all day rehearsal. And we had to have a lot of people there, not just cast, not just, we had to have some background.
Sound.
Yeah.
Lighting.
Sound. Yeah, our lighting people did need to see what the
Of
path
course,
was,
yeah, because it goes from dark to dark right away.
Yes, and they needed to know where are the few places that we're not looking, because with a oneer that's as athletic as this one is, we're looking everywhere.
Yeah.
So we have to know where are those few places we can look that we're not going to see something. And when we do need a light and we're looking there, all right, then it's like, okay, liaise with our production designer, our gaffer, our DP, and our production designer kind of liaising together to decide, all right, like within the deck and the world that Erin and Beth is our DP, have kind of created, like how do we use a practical light to achieve this effect? So there's a lot of preparation from that perspective, but also like we needed to know where people could be hiding.
Right.
Aaron Golden, who's our sound guy, like he was doing just as much dance choreography.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. And the really amazing thing about this is it's not a one shot framed from one perspective. It is, you go from tight to wide to two shot. Those challenges in themselves had to present a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people are always asking us, is it a true oneer? Is it a true runner? And I always try to tell people my goal with it was not to brag that I made a true oneer. And I'm not saying I never would. I mean, I think the longer the take is, honestly, the better it is for the actors if they have to do big emotional swings. So there are segments that are very, very long in Chasers, but there are certain times where the camera is doing some kind of crazy things that we knew it would be better for us if we could hide a light here during this take. So we did what we thought was best for the film, but that also included lens changes. We used different lenses throughout. We would step up and down our primes. So as you said, I love that you noticed that we are switching from close-ups to wides to this and that. And that's not just about the length from which our subject is from the camera.
Right.
That also has a lot to do with going from 24 to 35.
Right, without a blur at all, without changing the focal point at all. It all just kind of kismet.
Yes,
in a lot of ways.
and, you know, Avi K, who is our awesome VFX supervisor and handled half the VFX load with me in post. Like, there was a lot of planning around each visual effects transition so that we could accomplish these sorts of lens changes without it triggering the audience feeling like, wait, what just happened?
Right.
There's certain kinds of transitions where we could afford to do that. And yes, if you're really looking, people might be like a tiny bit bigger, a tiny bit smaller in the background, but we've, you know, it's all magic, it's all misdirection.
Yeah.
It's like your eye is looking here to here, so you don't realize that this thing over here has gotten 20% bigger,
Right.
or 20% smaller, or 20% more fisheye. So it's all, yeah.
And I would imagine that the actors added a lot because they probably looked at this as an ambitious thing, but they looked at it probably in a different ambitious way where they could sneak in from the side, right?
Sure.
There's moments when people just jump into the hallway.
Yes.
And then there's a great moment, and I'm going to spoil this, but there's a great moment when the two main characters are laying on the ground, and the one guy just pops his head in between them and lays down. And I think that was probably my favorite shot of any movie I've seen this year so far. And I have to imagine that actor goes, oh, I could do that, and just did that, right?
I mean, one of the brilliance of being able to do something like that is, so again, pro tip for people looking to do oneers, the height of your actors really actually becomes quite important because you're not using Apple boxes, you're not doing coverage, you need everyone to exist within the same frame. You have someone like Dex, who is the character who plops into that two shot, and Dex is, you know, probably 2 feet taller than Sierra. Sierra is shortest little, amazing, spunky actress. I love her, and then I also love Dex, and he is just like super tall. It's like, how do we, in this relatively important, more closer to emotional moment, we don't want to be super wide. We don't want to hold them in a wide. So that was actually not only a way of kind of bringing a fun framing in, but it was a way of having them lay down on the ground, allowed their heads to be at the same height.
Yeah, and how important movement is in the episode is very important because that's what keeps the illusion going, right? The movements and the swinging back and forth and actors jumping in here, or one actor jumping on top of the other actor, holding them by their shoulders, you know, things like that.
We want to feel like a party. We want to put you in the party.
I love that.
Networking and the buzz of like making things happen.
and at the end of the day, you're telling a story within a 30-minute time frame that you hope to expand upon, right?
I feel like
that is correct.
I feel like Olivia, who has been developing with Sierra and I a continuing series. Why don't you jump in on this?
So my I did help logistically produce the shoot, but I think the bulk of my work before Instance was kind of like reading drafts of the script and then helping build out the pitch of the series with the writers. So the idea is that in season 1, each episode would also be a oneer, and the camera would track a different character from the pilot in a new location. So we get to see their world and the issues that they are grappling with, but we would still track the A story with Sierra's character and follow that story throughout the whole show. So you get to see like different areas of the entertainment industry, or like there's like a women's march episode, and just like investigating sort of how those like themes of exploitation are intertwined in like lots of different facets of our world.
And there's a lot of subtext and there's a lot of foreshadowing. The very beginning of this whole thing, there's a big foreshadowing that happens that, you know, I won't spoil or reveal. Talk about a little bit about that challenge in producing something like that, because here you are, you're trying to sell something that you want to make 12, 15 episodes of, right? But then you don't want it to be such a dead bolt that nobody wants to buy this thing. You want to include some things that are going to happen throughout the series. So talk a little bit about what you discussed and what you thought about when you were trying to put this all together. Were there aha moments you go, oh yeah, we have to do this, we have to put this, or were there things you had to take out because you just said within a 30-minute time frame this isn't going to work?
I think some of the elements that we really like noticed stood out in the pilot that we think should be incorporated into every episode in the rest of the series are like the revelations of character, where there's some kind of like twist that like what you thought you were watching is turned on its head. And, there's always going to be something like that. for each character, and then there's also going to be those like surreal elements that do sort of foreshadow or bring out the thematic elements, or like there's that heightened emotion that like we see in reality what the characters are feeling inside, and that felt also very like true to the series, and it's like symbolic enough that it doesn't like literally give things away, but if you're like watching it back, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. One of the things I'm really proud of about Chasers is that we are able to seamlessly blend in these projections of reality, this sense of like this, we call it kind of the surreal moments and flashbacks, and that I think, I haven't encountered anyone that couldn't tell the difference between those two things, and to be able to do that without the luxury of a cut, I think speaks volumes to this team and like what we've been able to achieve together. So that's definitely, I think, a hallmark of this series, something that is integral and unique to what we've put together with Chasers. But I also really love the characters that we've built, and so much of that came through the casting. We worked with Emily Cook to find about half of these actors. The others were actors that Sierra and I they're in our network and we wrote for, and it's just so much fun to watch that come to life. So we, in terms of what we've held back, I think honestly, because of the way in which the project came together, it started out as a standalone project that then we realized was a series. So for that reason, I think everything that comes in our series pitch moving forward, it wasn't stuff that we were like, oh, we can't fit it into the pilot. It was more stuff that grew out of moments in the pilot that stood out to us. And we're like, we're kind of setting this up, and we're kind of setting this up. And that's where the story goes. But as Olivia said, the engine of the series is all the things that are already in it. The 30-minute oneer, the mixes of flashback, real-time, projections of reality, the tone of it being really fun and devastating at the same time.
And you guys have a Bible written for this?
We do.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, cool.
And a nice
Just in case a millionaire is watching this.
We got a pitch deck. We can tell you what happens. And we're open to some changes. But we have ideas.
How do you, I'm curious, how do you pitch this to actors? I mean, obviously you have a great team here and they're going to stay with you to the end, but because they have so much invested in it, but how do you pitch this to actors who are maybe doing a 1-day shoot or 2-day shoot? Are you open to having to reshoot it if you have to, or did you pitch to them, hey, if you're going to do this, we're in for the long haul kind of idea?
Well, we truly figured out that it was a series after.
Okay, so they didn't know it at that time.
No, I mean, I think most, if not all of them, have expressed their desire to continue, and obviously that's something that's really attractive to us. What we've basically said to everyone is we want to keep playing in this world, and we're open to what that looks like, and it's really going to depend on who we partner with, what we're able to do.
Nice.
But I know for a matter of fact that I will be looking for opportunities to collaborate with our awesome cast as many times as I can, whether it's on future versions of this or other projects.
They were all amazing. Like,
Yeah.
the entire cast was like great to work with, brought their A game every time. Like, so yeah, anybody would be happy to work with them.
From top to bottom. I mean, and so many people have reached out to me about Sierra, and I'm just like, I really think that people are going to watch this and see that she really carried a really ambitious film on her back, and then what an amazing scene partner she had in Louis Chapman, who played Jacob. And we've already, at this point, it's public that Shannon Hisela, who is our bathroom influencer, has just booked a show for Peacock. So Brooke Maroon is now doing a movie with Margot Robbie. Daniel Rashid had a movie here called
Yes.
I mean, and that's just like half the people, literally everyone I even haven't mentioned, they're off to doing amazing things. So.
Yeah, Shannon stole the show for me. I really,
oh my gosh.
I really thought that character had a really good arc. I was like, oh wow. Yeah. I thought, oh, this is the character I'm not gonna like, right? And then you get about halfway through and you go, wow, interesting.
That's literally my goal with all of the characters. So as we've talked about, Sierra's character, Sophia, Sierra and I wrote Sophia we wanted the audience to misjudge her at the beginning.
Yeah.
I wanted her to come across like a little bit like, hey, honey, just like slow down. Like it's just starting up. The relationship, like, I wanted the audience to go on a journey with her, to kind of come along to her perspective, and I wanted them to then be able to, by the end, ask themselves, oh, am I doing this for all these characters? It took us a long time to come up with the title Chasers, and there was one title that I threw out that really wasn't a good title, but at least gets at what I'm saying here. Like, I joked around about the title entitled "Young People" for a little bit because I do think
that's not good.
It's not a great title, but you have to go through some bad ones to get to some good
of course,
ones.
yeah.
But just this idea of like how people do throw around that like young people are entitled all the time, and that can be true in some ways, but there can still be an overlooking. Every generation has their own pain point they're going through. And the young generation is going through very specific pain points that we are going to show through the course of this series. The way that modern life is right now is being a chaser, which is not the exact same as being someone who pursues and puts themselves out there, but is definitely includes that. Being a chaser leads to a lot of manipulation. Even just putting your heart out on your sleeve and saying you want something makes you vulnerable to someone manipulating you. And when you add desperation to that, things get really dicey. And I think a lot of young people feel like they don't have a lot of opportunity in the world right now because of, that's a whole nother that's a whole other you know
1,000% interview. All right, so my last question to you all, and I want each of you to answer this, please.
Let's talk to Tara a little bit.
What do you love about independent film? What is it that keeps you wanting to do this and keep making independent film?
I love the independence that we have, which is so funny and ironic to say.
Right.
But I love the creative freedom we're allowed and we're afforded, and that we can actually work with people that we love to work with, who we are invested in the project, and how hands-on you get to be in the project. I feel like once you go to studio size or huge budgets, you are very limited in the amount of freedom you have.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, like I the creative control is huge, and to be able to say, like, not only am I doing like the work that I want to do and providing an opportunity for myself to make this as opposed to going around and knocking on doors, but then it's also like I can do it in the way that I want to do it and sort of dictate, like, this is what kind of producer I'm going to be. And like, obviously that comes with a lot of learning and a lot of like maybe learning how this is how I don't want to do it in the future, but I think that's another big part of it for me, is I get to sort of be like, I can choose how people, like, my set is run, and that can be very empowering.
For me, one of the things I always like to say is, like, the phrase "you are what you eat" does not only apply to food. And, we're living in like a very second screen sort of culture where a lot of the times when we're working with studio clients who, listen, I still like my studio clients, but there's more and more pressure to create stuff that has that second screen capability where you don't have to quite pay as close of attention, where the point of what you're watching is to make you feel good or like to reaffirm what you already believe. And I'm interested in making stories that do push you a little bit outside your comfort zone. Like, they can still be entertaining, but they're asking you to consider something you've never thought before, or like synthesize ideas that you didn't really think were connected before, see the world differently. And so for me, it's not just about making media that contributes to that. It's also about being in community with other people who are bringing these sort of like empathetic or like, perspective widening positions. And so I want to be the kind of person that is consuming in line with my goals and values, which is to become a person who like treats people with respect, who tries to see both sides of the story before making an informed opinion, and moves forward knowing that while I might experience the world as the center of my own reality, I'm not the center of everyone's reality.
This film is female driven to the core, from the person who shot it to the person who wrote it to the person who's starring in it to the people who are producing it. Talk a little bit about how important that is for you, why that matters for this particular project.
These are the people that I really respect and like make me feel valued, and like I want to champion, and it's just like such a no-brainer. And it's like there's no point where we're like talking about ourselves as female filmmakers, because it's like you're just like doing the thing.
I agree. It's a very empowering feeling to be able to give this platform to so many women on so many different levels, behind the camera, in front of the camera. So it's pretty special, and that we've had so much success so far and been able to premiere at Sundance and then Slamdance and now here at Cinequest, all with the primarily female-driven cast and crew. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty special.
And I'll just give a shout out first to Elle Shaw, who is one of our other producers, like the lead logistical producer, who couldn't be here today. She's incredible. But I also just, since you're asking, a huge shout out to my mom. My mom has been really instrumental in me being able to have a career. I mean, because she just always believed in me, and she and I sometimes question, was that good? Should I have been more practical? But she is always she's just always been incredibly supportive, and in ways that are sometimes emotional, ways that are sometimes practical, and ways that are sometimes financial. Like all of the ways that a mom can support when she's able to, she does it the way that she can.